Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do, but it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you, when judgment comes for you, tell me what you gonna do, when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you, 'cause it's gonna come for you.
Making it for water, easy, see something Charlie. Little boo guy's got him, and I'm gonna miss everybody out of row and flows like eggs. Looked at a wild lag and prayed for dust, and they play too deep for being sad. Little legs I got to be. Tell me your feature deceased, would it please? Marry me by my grand when you can go follow
God bless you, working on a plan to heaven. Follow the Lord.
Backbone Wrestling Network. Welcome back to the CrosUp, the weekly look back at the week that was in professional wrestling. This week I'll be running through the results from Collision on January 11th to SmackDown on January 17th. We opened Collision with Cope defeating Big Bill via submission, the rear naked choke. Post-match, the Learning Tree run in for a beatdown, but FTR comes out and makes the save. We then get a video of Kenny Omega's return on Dynamite and his promo and the attack that pursued afterwards. We then get Hangman Page. He talks about the work that he has done to protect his family, and it was all undone in one night. Could either remain the husk of a man that he was, or become something else. That's why he kept Swerve Strickland from winning the world title, which is why he gave him such a beating in September. Then he heard Christopher Daniels said what Christopher Daniels said, but then Daniels crossed the line with him, and then they will fight on Collision next week in a Texas death match. So I'll talk about that next week, but ended up being a pretty brutal match. But I'll talk about that one on the next episode on the next Collision. So we then get Pac. He defeats Commander via submission with the Brutalizer. Post-match, the Death Riders come out for more of a beatdown, but the Outrunners come out to save. And then the Outrunners and the Death Riders have a match where Castagnoli and Yuta defeat the Outrunners when Castagnoli hits the fastball special on Floyd. I think at Powerhouse Hobbs, he has been listening to what the Death Riders have been saying and wants the world title and to stop them from continuing to terrorize AEW. We then get Mariah May. She defeats Harley Cameron in a good old-fashioned scrap that they challenged each other to on last week's Dynamite. Mariah May is able to defeat her via pinfall with the Storm Zero. We then get Christopher Daniels, and he talks about how he's ready to take out and really bring it to Hangman Page next week on Collision. We then get Brody King. He squashes Trevor Blackwell, finishing him off with the Gonzo Bomb. He then gets interviewed after the break, talks about how this has been a strange time for the House of Black with Malachi seemingly disappearing a little bit. But Cope comes in and he tells Brody that it's time for him to take the reins, which makes King kind of ponder his future going forward. We then get Daniel Garcia. He defeats Katsuyori Shibata via pinfall with a jackknife roll-up, which has become his finisher lately somehow. He wins every match with a jackknife roll-up, so not really winning matches too convincingly. He keeps stealing victories, so even though he's a face, I mean, he's not really stealing them, but they seem to come out of nowhere a lot of the time. But then we get our main event where Chris Jericho defeats Dax Harwood via pinfall following a belt shot and a Judas effect. Post-match, the Death Riders run in for a beatdown with Cope and Cash Wheeler and the Outrunners running in for the save. And then obviously John Moxley comes out and drops Cope with the paradigm shift, but Powerhouse Hobbs makes the save and no-sells a chair shot from Moxley. Moxley then runs off, and Yuta is put through the announcer's table to end the show. That none of the matches were all that bad on this episode, but nothing really stood out all that much other than the opener. I thought Cope and Big Bill put together some good stuff, but a solid episode of matches, but nothing really blow away. But I'd say that opener was probably the best that they had to offer on that show. But we'll go to Raw from there. CM Punk arrives in the back and does the hand to his ear like Hulk Hogan used to do before coming out. Punk gets into the ring. He thanks everyone who has been fighting the wildfires in Southern California. With that out of the way, Punk brings up the Royal Rumble, where he came back last year but tore his tricep in the process. Thought his career was fading away and he couldn't see his dreams, but now he sees the WrestleMania sign. as for someone you can't see. John Cena has declared himself for the Royal Rumble, and now Punk so has himself. Then says he's going to win and point to the WrestleMania sign on the way to WrestleMania, and then Seth Rollins comes in to interrupt. Rollins says if he wasn't a man of his word, all he would be is Punk. That gets but I'm still the winner, right? From Punk, kind of getting a little jab in there. Rollins really isn't all that pleased with that statement. Rollins has lost all kinds of matches over his career, but last week was the worst loss of his career. Rollins is ready to throw Punk out of the Royal Rumble and win, which Punk thinks is the easy way out since he couldn't get the pin. Drew McIntyre then comes out, and Punk can't believe that he's getting interrupted by another person. McIntyre can't believe someone could actually get worse, but Punk brings up what he did to McIntyre inside the Hell in a Cell. McIntyre was actually talking about Rollins, who says McIntyre can get in the ring and take a beating from him instead. They all argue, and Punk is ready to fight, with Rollins taking his jacket off. McIntyre comes towards the ring, but then says no, because he has no reason to do that. The bigger problem is Roman Reigns is playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers, so he is going to have to step up again and get the title before Reigns. And then now that Reigns already has the falafel, as he calls it, I'll obviously call him out the ulafala. It's a matter of time before he wants the title again. McIntyre is in the Rumble too, so he can keep Reigns from getting it. So his goal is probably mostly to win it, but seemingly just to make sure that Roman does not. We then get the debut of Penta. He's not going by Pentagon Jr. here, but just Penta. But he debuts and defeats Chad Gable via pinfall following the Penta driver. Post-match, Penta thanks the fans in English and in Spanish, and saying that this was a dream come true and this is his new home. This is the Netflix era, but it is also the Penta era. Maybe gave him a little too much time to talk here because he seemed to kind of repeat himself, and he doesn't speak the greatest English to begin with, so maybe not the best idea to give him as much time on the stick as they did, but I digress. We then get Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez come into the Judgment Day clubhouse, and they are not happy with Finn Balor, as I don't think anybody in the Judgment Day is very happy with him right now. But they talk about getting revenge, and then Dominic comes in with flowers for Liv Morgan. She's not mad at him. She can go grab but he tells her to go she tells him to go grab the bags from the car. She throws flowers to Carlito and says, put them somewhere nice. Dominic says, I don't think she's mad at me at all. And then Finn obviously comes back with, man, you've got a lot to learn when it comes to women. So, he's kind of putting him in his place. And then JD comes in and says he's going to ask for a rematch for the tag titles against the War Raiders. We then get Sheamus. He defeats Ludwig Kaiser via pinfall following the bro kick. Post-match, Sheamus gets into a stare down with Braun Breaker, who is in the crowd again for some reason. 2 weeks in a row since they've been on Netflix. They haven't used Braun at all, but they have a little bit of a shoving match. So obviously leading to probably another match between those two. We then get Seth Rollins. He is ready to face Drew McIntyre next week. As Rollins goes to leave, he runs into Sami Zayn, who says he is here to talk if Rollins needs someone. Rollins thinks Zayn must have had a great week last week when Roman Reigns won Tribal Combat, since they're such good buddies again, which really doesn't set well with Sami. Karrion Kross then rants to Miz about the Wyatt Six being moved to SmackDown. Sami Zayn then comes into the picture, says he's going to talk to Adam Pearce, but Kross stops him. He says he found Zayn's talk with Seth Rollins interesting earlier. Miz says that if we're talking about world champions, we don't need to worry about Sami Zayn. That doesn't work for Sami Zayn, who is going to ask for a rematch or have a match with Miz tonight. Kross seems to approve and laughs when Miz says we have to deal with Sami Zayn tonight. So obviously saying he's not going to be involved whatsoever. We then get Gunther. He comes out for a chat. He was impressed with the presentation last week, but there were a lot of people arguing over things like being the best in the world and being the tribal chief. The title is the only thing that matters, and here is Jey Uso coming out to interrupt him. Jey Uso is willing to come after the title, and he'll do it at Saturday night's main event. Gunther isn't impressed, and even though Jey is funny, he isn't on Gunther's level. The title match is on, though, as he accepts this challenge. Gunther goes to leave, but Jey cuts him off, saying that everything Gunther said is true. It's true that Jey isn't supposed to be here, but he has bet on himself and is still trying to earn that respect, and that's what he'll do at Saturday night's main event when him and Gunther go one-on-one for the World Heavyweight title. We then get our Intercontinental Women's title match final from the tournament, and Lyra Valkyria becomes the inaugural champion, winning via pinfall over Dakota Kai with the Nightwing. And then after the match, Adam Pearce presents Valkyria with the title, and we get a hug of respect between the two of them. I really would have. I think I really would have preferred Dakota win, because she's been through so much, been through a ton of injuries. Seems to have persevered all this time, and has never really got that big win. But Lyra is obviously deserving as well, and is a great choice. But I might would have gone the other way. But I understand why they went the way they did. We then get Sami Zayn. He defeats The Miz via pinfall with the Helluva Kick, and he actually gets the pinfall off of the Blue Thunder Bomb, but obviously he hit his other finisher first, so maybe not just off of the Blue Thunder Bomb. We then get announced that Braun Breaker versus Sheamus is also getting made official for Saturday night's main event, so that match will be a big match to happen there. Rhea Ripley then comes out and brags about being a women's world champion again. She's back on top, even though she sounds like a broken record. She's kind of, spouting off the same things that she's been saying for a long time. Nia Jackson comes out to interrupt randomly, saying she's here as a part of the transfer window and can't take listening to this anymore. She says she's going to win the Royal Rumble and take whatever title she wants. Tiffany Stratton thinks she's at the top. Rhea Ripley might think she's on top, and Bayley at ringside asks, and then Nia asks, why is she here? They're obviously in San Jose, which is her hometown. Bayley reminds Jax that she's from here, like I just said. So Jax throws in some more mocking, which is enough for Bayley to get in the ring. She said Bayley says this might not be her show, but this is her city, and the fight is on. Jax shoves both of them down, but a quick double team sends Jax bailing. And then we have our main event, which hopefully to God is the blow off to this feud. But Damian Priest once again defeats Finn Balor via pinfall with a South of Heaven choke slam after he had previously hit a Razor's Edge through a table on the outside. So hopefully that's the end. Hopefully either Priest hopefully Priest or the Judgment Day transfer to the other brand. I'm hoping Priest kind of goes to SmackDown to kind of wrestle in some new territory. But if it takes Finn and Judgment Day go into the other side too, that'll work. But these two desperately need to be away from each other. But I thought the best match for Raw was Penta and Chad Gable. I thought it was a really great presentation for Penta's first match. I think they could probably do better, but I really thought it was a strong performance as well. But the main event was also very good, the street fight. So another really good Raw episode 2 weeks in a row. So the Netflix era is off to a really hot start, I would say. We then go to NXT from there. We open with Oba Femi. He brags about being able to take his rightful place on the throne, and he is backed by Destiny since he arrived. He's done everything he said he was going to do. The fans seem to think that Femi deserves it, and before Femi talks about how Trick Williams put in a lot of work, or he talks about before he won the title, Trick put in a lot of work. Trick has a ceiling, but unlike Oba Femi is limitless. As for Eddie Thorpe, he can go annoy someone else, but then Tony D'Angelo comes out to interrupt. He brings up beating Femi twice, so he can take the NXT title from him as well. Femi then brings up Ridge Holland, taking out D'Angelo on the Christmas episode, and then D'Angelo promises that he's going to take care of Holland and not Femi doesn't need to worry about it. Ridge Holland then comes out and he has a photo of him as Santa Claus attacking Tony D'Angelo, and the fight is on with Eddie Thorpe coming up and jumping Femi from behind, and kind of knocked him down and left him laying and picked up the belt and held it above his head. Ethan Page then is in the locker room with some face jobbers, and he mocks Dante Chen, and a shoving match ensues, and a match is made. We then get Shotzi. She actually defeats Stephanie Vaquer to win the number one contendership for the Women's North American Championship, but it's after Fatal Influence had attacked Vaquer, and this allows Shotzi to roll her up for the win. We then get Zarya. She gives Kalani Jordan a pep talk for her match before her match with Cora Jade later on, and then Cora comes in as that's going on. And mocks Kalani, and that earns her a slap before we kind of fade to the next scene, which is Obafemi. He says he wants Eddie Thorpe, and he holds Mr. Stone up against the wall and kind of chokes him a little bit until Ava gives him the match next week against Eddie for the title. We then get Ethan Page. He defeats Dante Chen via pinfall with a twist of fate. Post-match, he crushes Chen's leg with the steps. And then Javon Evans comes out, tries to make the save, but he gets a punch to his his busted up jaw, his wired jaw, and then Ethan tells him to smile while blood kind of pours from Evans's mouth. We then get Obafemi walking through the back. He doesn't want to listen to Dion Lennox, who's trying to talk to him, but he kind of pretty much just ignores him. We then get Rizzo and Izzy Dane. They don't want to listen to Sean Spears, who's trying to spout off his conspiracies and talk about how he believes in them and all that good, all that stupid shit and all that stuff. So, and then we get Ashante the Adonis. He apologizes to Carmen and gives her a rose, and then they finally kiss and pretty much say that it's about time, and they leave together. We then get DIY. They are getting interviewed. They say they have heard so much about Fraxium, and they're here to scout some possible future competition. We then get the Meta Girls of Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend. They defeat the Unholy Union of Alba Fire and Isla Dawn when they hit the wheelbarrow into the cutter combo on Alba Fire. We then get Lexus King. He is proud to win the Heritage Cup, but Charlie Dempsey and Ren Sinclair come up to talk about a rematch. Ava is interested, but has to break up a fight between Ridge Holland and Tony D'Angelo that's happening in the parking lot. We then are shown TNA Knockouts champion Masha Slamovich. She is in the crowd to watch the next match, which is Cora Jade defeating Kalani Jordan via pinfall with a double arm DDT. We then get a cell phone promo from Eddie Thorpe. He says he's ready to win the NXT title next week. We then get Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura. They want a tag title shot against Fraxium in the near future, but OTM says that they're getting the title shot tonight, and if you want a title shot, you need to be talking to us and not the current champions, because OTM is going to take the belts tonight. And then Briggs and Inamura end up kind of brawling with OTM before their match, which Fraxium is able to retain the titles over OTM when Axiom hits the golden ratio on Bronco Nima, while Frazier at the pretty much the same time hits the frog splash through the announce table on Lucian Price. We then close the show with Roxanne Perez. She's out for to talk a little bit. She says when she won the title at Stand and Deliver last year, no one thought she was going to hold it as long as she did. She wanted to make women's wrestling special and give people something that they can take pride in every week. This is the best women's division in wrestling every week. And here she is without the title. Last week, Julia was the better person, but that's what the people wanted. Julia isn't going to take the title to the same heights that Roxanne did, and it doesn't deserve her. And then Bailey randomly shows up and comes out to give her some advice, but Perez doesn't want to hear it. Bailey then mocks her for wanting advice when she was shorter than she is now, obviously playing to the fact that she's pretty short, and obviously talking about when she was a teenager, asking Bailey for advice. Perez then laughs it off. Haha, stupid, funny, short joke. She probably heard those a million times. And then she says, while Bailey set records, Perez broke them. And then she says that maybe she should be Bailey's role model instead of the other way around. Bailey then says Perez will be stuck here while Bailey goes on to win the title on SmackDown later this week. And then they start to brawl. And it kind of depended on where you were or, what station. Well, I mean, obviously everywhere it's on the CW. But it cut off, I feel like, at random times. I feel like a lot of people were complaining that like on my DVR, it cut off before the brawl even happened. They were still talking when it cut off on my TV, but I don't have the extra ad over time, or I didn't do the run over or whatever. So but yeah, I feel like a lot of people were talking about how it kind of cut off at different times for them. But kind of a strange way to end the show. But obviously, I guess we'll get Bailey versus Roxanne somewhere in the near future. But the best match, no shock at all. Fraxium versus OTM. Fraxium, if they wrestle, odds are they're probably going to be in the match of the night. But we'll move from there to Dynamite. Kenny Omega defeats Brian Cage via pinfall following the one-winged angel. Post-match, the beatdown is on, and Will Ospreay comes out to make the save. Or try to make the save, but the Don Callis family beats them both down and leaves them both laying. We then get MVP. He is going to compete in a 6-man tag team match with his Hurt Syndicate brothers tonight, and he is ready to get back into the ring. The Learning Tree is then ready for their match on Collision in Cincinnati, in the heart of the Bluegrass State, and they can get along with the Death Riders for at least a night. So it's going to be like a 12-man tag is what I think it ends up being. So the Learning Tree and the Death Riders have to coexist for at least a tag match. But we move from there. Ricochet comes out. He gets quite the negative reception. He gets booed pretty heavily on this one. And before he can really say anything, he gets booed and booed and booed. And then Swerve Strickland's music hits. And it's Prince Nana with a chair shot to Ricochet's back. Swerve then comes in and chases Ricochet off. And he even runs outside to the snow covered ground, because they're in this like music hall. It was actually a really interesting looking venue for sure. I thought it kind of worked for him. Obviously it's better to be that way than in a half-empty arena, but it definitely gave me some like TNA vibes, and maybe like what NXT has kind of done recently with kind of going to the a little off-the-wall kind of venues. But I definitely thought it worked for the show, and they gave it a cool look. We then go to a look at the day in the life of Mercedes Moné. Apparently she shops, trains, and apparently is just all around having a great time living her life. So being the quadruple champion that she is. We then get the Hurt Syndicate. They defeat Mark Briscoe and Private Party when Benjamin hits a release German and then follows it with a super kick on Mark Quinn. We then get a really extended segment with Jeff Jarrett out for a chat, but obviously MJF, who's been a thorn in his side lately, cuts him off. MJF didn't think much of Jarrett, saying that the last few weeks have been humbling, but Jarrett calls him lazy for not wanting to enter the casino gauntlet. MJF snaps and says Jarrett has convinced a lot of people he's a lot better than he is. MJF calls Jarrett the last thing any wrestling company sees before it dies. We get some jokes about Jarrett's alcohol issues before MJF offers to have some fun with Karen Jarrett before sending her back to Tennessee. That way, Jarrett can know the taste of a generational talent and an Olympic gold medalist. What their balls taste like, I think is what he said. Jarrett then laughs everything off because he's heard it all before. The reality is that Jarrett did all of this before, but he did it better. Obviously, talking about MJF promo style. Jarrett says that it must be really tough being raised by a call girl mother and an ambulance chasing lawyer father. When MJF was in the ring going 60 minutes, his girlfriend was doing it too, just in the parking lot with other wrestlers. The reality is MJF needs Jarrett because he's scared. He's a scared little boy. MJF then goes on a rant about how far he carried this company, but then he got screwed out of a bunch of things. He needs to win the world title so that he can shove it down a lot of people's throats. But then he needs to wait for Jeff Jarrett. He thinks that's ridiculous that people are thinking he has to wait behind him. The reality is no one has ever cared about Jarrett, who thinks his friendship with Owen Hart entitles him to a grand finale. That's enough for Jarrett, and the fight is on. And security plus Karen Jarrett come out to stop things. And then MJF actually grabs Karen to kind of shield him so he can leave and not get attacked. So the MJF versus Jeff Jarrett feud continues, and we'll see who gets closer in their pursuits of the world title. We then get a video on a match between Kazuchika Okada and Tomohiro Ishii that will happen soon for the Continental Championship. We then get Hook defeating Christian Cage via DQ when the rest of the patriarchy comes in when Hook has Christian in the red rum. Post-match, the beatdown is on, and Taz starts to stand up like he's going to attack, but then Samoa Joe returns and cleans house. Shibata also runs in for the assist, and the good guys stand tall. So they're kind of right back at it. I think when Joe went out, he was kind of teaming with Shibata and Hook. So maybe they'll kind of reintroduce this, and they'll become a group. But we'll see. We then get a promo from the Undisputed Kingdom. They talk about how they're all back together now, and they want some gold around their waist. We then get Dustin Rhodes. He interrupts a Jeff Jarrett interview in the back, saying that MJF has no idea how this business works, and Rhodes wants Jarrett to fulfill his dream of once again becoming world champion. We then get the Women's Casino Gauntlet, where Toni Storm wins after pinning Julia Hart with a small package. This gets her the number one contender spot against Mariah May at Grand Slam Australia. The other participants in this match, obviously I said Toni Storm and Julia Hart, but we had Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander, Jamie Hayter, the debuting Megan Bain, who I think is mostly known for her, she's been in GCW quite a bit lately, but I think she's been around the Indies as well. But I think she's mostly known for her kind of appearances in GCW, but she made her debut here, and I'm pretty sure she's contracted and part of the roster now. So we'll see what kind of impact she can make. I think she's super talented, so I think she'll fit in and do really well. But Harley Cameron was the last entrant in the match. But yeah, Toni Storm against Mariah May at Grand Slam Australia. So we'll see if Toni can take the belt back from her greatest rival of the last year or so. We then get John Moxley. He retains against Powerhouse Hobbs via submission when Hobbs passes out in the Bulldog choke. And post-match, the beatdown is on, and then they Pillmanize Powerhouse Hobbs' leg, and then Rated FTR, of course, comes out and makes the save. Maybe a little too late, but they do make the save there at the end. I thought the best match from Dynamite was definitely Omega versus Cage. It was a really hot opener. Good to see Kenny back, and I've always been a big fan of Brian Cage back to his Lucha Underground days, so I think he's super underrated. And Omega really brought the best out of him on this one. So really solid show all throughout. Again, some solid stuff and really good stuff in the ring, but maybe nothing great per se. But I definitely think that opener took the cake for the best match of the night. We will then go to Impact. We open with Leon Slater defeating Trent Seven via pinfall following the Swanton 450. We then get video on Joe Hendry, who is ready to get to the top of the mountain after coming up short at Bound for Glory. Just kind of another retrospective of his career, him growing up and him wanting to be the world champion very, very badly. And he plans to do so at Genesis against Nick Nemeth. We then get the personal concierge. He is out for the pre-championship celebration for Ash and Heather by Elegance. We get the reveal of some cardboard cutouts with the two of them as champions, and Ash is happy to eventually win the titles. Well, of course, they'll do that this weekend at Genesis. We get some tearful thank yous before the fans are not happy with either of them, kind of saying that they're automatically going to win the championships. They again say they're ready to win the titles as well, but Spitfire comes out to interrupt. And then bickering ensues, and the team by Elegance is sent outside, leaving the cardboard in the ring to be destroyed. So Spitfire comes out and ruins their celebration, rips up their cardboard cutouts, and leaves them kind of reeling into their tag title match this weekend. We then get Sami Callihan and PCO. They are ready to defeat the Hardys tonight and get into the tag title match at Genesis. We then get EY, Eric Young, and Steve Macklin defeating First Class when EY hits the top rope elbow on Casey Navarro. In the post-match, the System comes out for a stare down, which again will also happen at Genesis. Eric Young and Macklin versus Myers and Edwards of the System. We then get Rosemary. She is ready for some violence with Slamovich. They're going to have the Clockwork Orange House of Fun match. I said that out of order. But yeah, they're going to have a very hardcore match at the Genesis pay-per-view for the Knockouts Championship. We then get the Northern Armory to brag about taking out Santana last week. Santana pops out in the crowd and says he won't quit. That's why at Genesis, him and Alexander's match will be an I Quit match. Alexander says that works for him. He threatens a lot of violence and pain on Santana. And then Alexander promises to show Santana that he is a middle-of-the-road star. And then Santana promises he will become the new standard of TNA when he defeats him. We then get Jake something. He defeats Laredo Kid via pinfall with a super sit-out powerbomb. We then get an Ace Austin promo talking about his relationship with Chris Bay and his relationship with the X Division and the X Division Championship. He says he wants it back, and he's going to do this for his brother, Chris Bay. He talks about what the X Division means to him and how far he has gone in it over the years, which is why he's going back to his roots. So he wants to win the X Division title, obviously for himself, but he obviously wants to win it for his brother and his tag team partner, Chris Bay. Who is obviously recovering from his injuries that he suffered a few months ago. But really, really well put together package. I thought Ace really knocked it out of the park on that one. So really, really good stuff. We then get the Hardys. They actually defeat PCO and Sami Callihan when they hit the Twist of Fate, followed by the Swanton. So it will only be the Rascals versus the Hardys at Genesis with that victory. We then get Jordan Grace. She pops up on commentary to say that Tessa Blanchard hasn't signed the contract for the match. She leaves the contract on the commentary table and signs it herself before leaving. We then get Joe Hendry. He is out for a showdown with Nick Nemeth. Hendry says he has to win the title because it is time for him to start a new era by holding up that championship. Nemeth then says he understands what Hendry has to do, but Hendry doesn't know what it's like to be a champion. We are then shown a clip of John Layfield interfering at Bound for Glory, and Nemeth says he didn't see it live. All Nemeth saw was Layfield attacking his brother, who comes out to interrupt. Ryan comes in and goes after Hendry, allowing Nick to make the save with a super kick. The Nemeths leave, and Hendry is shaken up. And then to end the show, Tessa pops out of the crowd, runs in to sign the contract, and Jordan Grace actually reappears, and they brawl. And she hits the Juggernaut driver on Blanchard and leaves her laying to end the show. So kind of a good hype up to Genesis. I thought that Trent Seven, Leon Slater match, they gave them a ton of time. Let Slater kick out of some of, Trent Seven's big moves. So they're really putting a good bit of faith behind Slater, it seems like lately, which he's super talented. But yeah, that was an incredible match for sure. Especially by TNA TV standards. Still may not pop into the top 5, but is one I would definitely say you should check out if you have a little bit of extra time and you want to watch some wrestling. But we'll move from there. We'll move to SmackDown to finish up the week. Rey Mysterio is here to get things going. He's up for an opening promo. He is glad to be in his hometown of San Diego and announced that he is going to enter this year's Royal Rumble. Talks about winning the Rumble in 2006 and going on to become World Heavyweight Champion at WrestleMania. Mysterio is impressed by the competition this year, but here comes Kevin Owens with his Winged Eagle WWE Championship to interrupt. Owens says he respects Mysterio more than anyone in wrestling, but Owens has done some great things over the course of his own career. And there's one thing he wants to do, though. He wants to face Rey Mysterio, and he wants to face him at WrestleMania for the WWE title. Mysterio then points out that Owens isn't the champion right now, But if things line up, he would love to face Owens at WrestleMania. Owens goes on a rant about how he is the real champion, and they end up brawling with Mysterio ended up knocking him and clearing him out of the ring. We then get Nick Aldis. He makes Mysterio versus Kevin Owens a match tonight. Cody Rhodes comes in and says he'll have Mysterio's back, but Ray says he has this. Rhodes says that's cool with him, but Aldis has something new to add to Rhodes versus Owens title match at Royal Rumble, and Rhodes will sign when Owens does. Naomi and Bianca Belair retain their tag team titles when they defeat Candice LeRae and Nia Jax when Naomi hits the Naomi bomb on Candice LeRae. We then get Bayley before the show in a mostly empty arena. She talks about how important it would be to win her title back. She has been champion before, but she has never reached her potential. So tonight, it's time to get up to the next level by beating Tiffany Stratton. We then get Michin and B-Fab. They are in the back when Piper Niven interrupts, saying that it's time for Chelsea Green to come in. She's acting like her Secret Service, like Chelsea Green's a president. That's kind of the angle they're going with them. Chelsea Green then comes in to brag about her success, and that results in B-Fab versus Piper Niven being made for later tonight. We then get Jimmy Uso. He defeats Carmelo Hayes via DQ when the Bloodline comes out and attacks him. We then get kind of a commercial, and then after the match, the Bloodline continue. Well, no, just post-match, the Bloodline take out Uso, and then they actually end up dropping Hayes for a bonus. And then Solo comes out, and then they take a break, and he after that he gets booed, very loudly and very long. He ends up dropping the mic and never actually ends up saying anything. Jacob Fatu then picks up the mic, says he's tired of the disrespect, and says no one can touch him. If people think he's crazy, he's just getting started. LA Knight then comes out to go after both of them, which goes as well as could be expected, of course. And then Braun Strowman comes out, and he makes the save on LA Knight. So, maybe an LA Knight Braun Strowman team going up against the right-hand men of Solo Sikoa and their version of the Bloodline could be in the future. And I think Braun versus Jacob actually ends up getting made for Saturday night's main event. So that could be a definitely awesome Haas match between those two. We then get Legado del Fantasma. They are ready to face the Motor City Machine Guns tonight for the number one contendership for the tag team titles. And they will take their respect when they win that match. But unfortunately, it doesn't work out for them because the Motor City Machine Guns defeat Los Garzas when they hit the Skull and Bones on Berto. But it was a really great match between those two teams, two of the best out there. Los Garzas probably don't get the respect that they deserve, but they are a very good tag team and can go with pretty much anybody. So definitely go out of your way to check that one out. We then get Kevin Owens. He has changed his shirt from what he had on earlier to a Rey Mysterio shirt, but he says he will not sign the contract until Cody Rhodes does. So neither one of them want to sign the contract of whatever new addendum that Nick Aldis has made to it. We then get Piper Niven. She defeats B-Fab via pinfall following the Piper driver. Post-match, the beatdown is on, and Michin makes the save. So probably a tag match between those four will be made in the future. We then get a tribute to Bob Uecker, who had passed earlier in the week. A huge loss for the baseball and wrestling community, as he was one of the best celebrity appearances in WrestleMania history, I would say. He's one of the really memorable ones from the early days of WrestleMania, obviously providing some commentary and the classic moment where Andre chokes him in the backstage doing an interview at WrestleMania 4. So really good stuff, and he will be dearly missed, as he was a great personality. And like I said, in the baseball community, in the wrestling community, in the early 80s or the late 80s, I mean, and obviously for his contribution to the Major League franchise as well. But we will go to our next segment where Tiffany Stratton is ready to beat Bayley tonight because she doesn't have to recreate moments right now. She is those moments. She is the moments that people come to see on a weekly basis. We then get Kevin Owens. He defeats Rey Mysterio via pinfall following the pop-up powerbomb. I wasn't really expecting much out of this match. Obviously I thought KO would win, building to his match at Rumble, but him and Mysterio really brought it in this one. So I was really impressed with how that match went. So good stuff there. After the match, Owens loads up a package pile driver, but Rhodes, who is apparently medically cleared now, runs in to make the save. In the back, Aldis yells at Cody Rhodes, saying that next week at Saturday Night's Main Event, him and Owens will sign the new contract. And as a bonus, Shawn Michaels will be the moderator, just to add a little extra flavor to that segment, I'm sure. But at Saturday Night's Main Event, they will sign the contract whether they want to or not. We then get DIY. They yell at Pretty Deadly, telling them to get serious. And with DIY gone, Apollo Crews comes in and tells him they told him so. And then Pretty Deadly leave, and Crews is still standing there, and DIY comes in and attacks them and tells Crews to stay out of their business. And then we get our main event where Tiffany Stratton defeats Bayley via pinfall following an Alabama slam and the prettiest moonsault ever to retain her championship. So she finally beats Bayley. She gets that off her back because she had never defeated Bayley up until that point. So in a singles match, I don't know if she's never, I can't remember if she's ever beat her in a tag match, but she has never beaten her one-on-one. But like I said earlier, that Motor City Machine Guns match versus Los Garza's best match on the show. Really, really good tag match. Obviously, Motor City Machine Guns take the win and get the number one contendership. So we'll see another them versus DIY match. So that will be another entertaining one going forward. But as far as top fives, I went with Penta versus Gable as the number one match of the week. That Motor City Machine Guns Garza's match would be number 2 for me. The street fight between Priest and Balor would be number 3. Fraxian versus OTM would be number 4. And Mysterio versus Owens would be number 5. So really solid week for WWE. Like I said, Dynamite was a really solid show up and down. Maybe not a great match in there, but a lot of really, really solid matches. But yeah, really great week of wrestling. I think this is the most up and top to bottom, really great week that we've had in a while. So if you just have a few extra hours and you want to check some good matches out, definitely check out the 5 I just mentioned, and really watch as much as you can because it was a very, very solid week of wrestling. So you won't be disappointed. But that'll do it for me today. I appreciate everyone listening as always. I'll see you next week.